He's sweet. He's kind. He's always there for her. So why does she never choose the nice guy? Here's the shocking truth every man needs to hear. Have you ever wondered why some men, despite being incredibly kind, never seem to capture a woman's heart? I have. In fact, as a woman, I've experienced it firsthand. There are two kinds of kindness. The kind that gently pulls me closer and the kind that quietly pushes me away. And here's the painful truth: most men who are considered nice guys fall into the second category. I know that sounds unfair. After all, they try so hard. They stay up late listening to my problems. They never forget my birthday. They send thoughtful messages every single day. And yet in the end, all they ever receive from me is a polite smile, a soft thank you, and nothing more. So why does this happen? Why is it that the men who bend over backwards with kindness are the very ones I never choose? The answer lies in something. The German philosopher Schopenhauer once said kindness without strength is often dismissed. And tonight, I want to explain, from a woman's perspective, why kindness alone is never enough. Why some men get stuck in the endless cycle of being the good guy, while others, without trying so hard, become the ones we can't stop thinking about. Have you ever wondered why some men, despite being incredibly kind, never seem to capture a woman's heart? I have. In fact, as a woman, I've experienced it firsthand. There are two kinds of kindness. The kind that gently pulls me closer and the kind that quietly pushes me away. And here's the painful truth: most men who are considered nice guys fall into the second category. I know that sounds unfair. After all, they try so hard. They stay up late listening to my problems. They never forget my birthday. They send thoughtful messages every single day. And yet in the end, all they ever receive from me is a polite smile, a soft thank you, and nothing more. So why does this happen? Why is it that the men who bend over backwards with kindness are the very ones I never choose? The answer lies in something. The German philosopher Schopenhauer once said kindness without strength is often dismissed. And tonight, I want to explain, from a woman's perspective, why kindness alone is never enough. Why some men get stuck in the endless cycle of being the good guy, while others, without trying so hard, become the ones we can't stop thinking about. The trap of the nice guy. Let me start with a story. There was a man I used to know, let's call him Adam. He was the sweetest man in my circle. Always attentive, always considerate. If I so much as mentioned a book I liked, within days, it would appear in my mailbox, wrapped with a handwritten note. If I had a stressful week, he would check in every evening with encouraging words. He never missed a chance to be kind. But here's the part that surprised even me. Instead of falling for him, I felt myself slowly pulling away. His messages, once sweet, began to feel heavy. His thoughtful gestures started to feel like obligations. And I remember thinking, why does his kindness feel like pressure? And then I realized it wasn't just kindness. It was expectation wrapped in kindness. Every message, every gift, every sacrifice carried a silent weight, in unspoken hope that I would eventually reciprocate. That I would choose him. That all his kindness would pay off. But that's not how attraction works. For women, true attraction never feels like a transaction. The hidden expectation. As women, we can sense it instantly. When kindness comes with strings attached, even invisible ones, we feel it. We may not say it out loud, but deep down, we know. Think of it like this: imagine a man holding an umbrella for me on a rainy day. On the surface, it's a sweet gesture. But if I can feel his nervous anticipation, his hope that this small act will somehow make me like him, suddenly, the gesture feels less like kindness and more like a test. And women don't want to be tested. We want to feel free. The irony is, when kindness comes from a place of insecurity, it doesn't feel like support. It feels like a subtle form of control. And no matter how much effort a man puts in, if his kindness is laced with neediness, it loses its charm. The contrast: the attractive guy. Now, let's talk about another man. Let's call him Ben. Unlike Adam, Ben wasn't always available. He didn't hover. He didn't flood my phone with constant messages. When he invited me out, it wasn't with a desperate tone, but with a relaxed, almost casual confidence. If I said yes, great. If I said no, he smiled and said, maybe another time. That was it. No guilt. No disappointment spilling through the cracks. Just calm assurance. And here's the secret: that calmness, that strength, made his kindness magnetic. When he opened a door for me, I didn't feel pressure. I felt respect. When he listened to me, I didn't feel he was tallying up points in some hidden scorebook. I felt seen. And when he texted me after a date, it wasn't out of fear that I might slip away. It was because he genuinely wanted to connect. Do you see the difference? Both men were kind, but only one made me feel safe, respected, and drawn in. That's the difference between the nice guy and the attractive guy. Why kindness alone isn't enough. Here's where Schopenhauer's words come alive. Kindness without strength is often dismissed. Women don't just look for kindness, we look for the strength beneath it. Because here's the truth: kindness without strength feels fragile. It feels unstable. It feels like a mask that might crack the moment things don't go as planned. When Adam's gestures weren't acknowledged in the way he hoped, I could see the disappointment in his eyes. His whole mood would shift. And suddenly his kindness didn't feel like a gift anymore, it felt like a bargain. But when Ben showed kindness, it was steady, unshaken. Even if I didn't respond the way he hoped, his energy didn't change. He wasn't performing kindness to earn my approval. He was simply being himself. And that made me trust him. That made me lean closer. The weight of unspoken needs. Let me share another example, because I think a lot of women will relate to this. There was a night when I was sick. Nothing serious, just a bad headache. Adam rushed to my apartment, uninvited, with medicine, tea, and soup. On the surface, it was sweet. But inside, I felt uneasy. Why? Because I hadn't asked for his help. And deep down, I knew he wasn't just doing it for me. He was doing it for himself, for the image of being the devoted man, the savior. And afterward, when I didn't suddenly fall into his arms with gratitude, he grew distant. His kindness wasn't complete in itself, it was a performance, waiting for applause. Now compare that to Ben. On a similar night, when I mentioned not feeling well, he simply said, rest. Call me if you need anything. No pressure. No performance, just space and trust. And you know what? That made me want to call him. That made me want his presence. Do you see the subtlety? Sometimes the greatest kindness is the freedom to choose. Why women pull away. So, let's answer the big question: why do women pull away from nice guys? It's not because we dislike kindness. We crave kindness. But what we don't want is kindness mixed with insecurity. Kindness that whispers, please choose me, or I'll fall apart. Because here's the unspoken truth: when a man's sense of worth depends on my response, it doesn't feel like love. It feels like a burden. And as a woman, I don't want to carry that weight. Attraction isn't born from pity. It's born from respect, from admiration, from the feeling that a man can stand on his own, and still choose to be kind. And that's where most nice guys lose their way. The philosophy behind it. Let's go back to philosophy for a moment. Schopenhauer once said, human behavior is driven by what is missing. Think about that. If a man's kindness comes from his own emptiness, from loneliness, from insecurity, from fear of rejection, then that kindness is not really about me. It's about him trying to fill a void. And women can sense that. We feel it in the subtle shifts of tone, in the urgency of his messages, in the heaviness of his presence. It's not love, it's dependence. But when kindness comes from strength, when it's complete in itself, when it doesn't demand a reaction, it feels entirely different. It feels like freedom. And freedom, my dear, is what every woman truly desires in love. The key lesson so far. So if you've ever wondered why women don't choose the nice guy, here's the answer in one line. Because his kindness feels like a cage, while the attractive man's kindness feels like a gift. Both men may look the same on the outside, both generous, both thoughtful. But one is weighed down by expectation, and the other is lifted by strength. And that makes all the difference. When kindness turns into a cage, let me be completely honest. There were times when I felt guilty for not liking the nice guy. I would lie awake at night, replaying his gestures in my mind, the gifts, the long conversations, the way he rearranged his entire weekend, just to be available for me. And I would ask myself, why can't I feel what he wants me to feel? Why can't I just fall for him? But here's the truth that most women don't say out loud. The more he gave, the more trapped I felt. Because his kindness wasn't freedom. It was a cage built out of expectations. You see, when kindness is offered with the silent demand, "Now you owe me love," it stops being kindness at all. It becomes a contract I never signed. And no matter how gentle the words, no matter how thoughtful the gesture, that invisible contract suffocates attraction. This is why women often distance themselves from nice guys. Not because we're cruel, not because we don't value kindness. But Becca,